Hi YouTube. Imagine walking on the street. Do you look down at your feet and at the street, or do you look up into the eyes of the people and you look ahead to where you are going? Which of the two do you think will give you more information about your surrounding? And what will it do to how people perceive you? People that are passing by or people that you are trying to interact with? Which will make you seem more confident? And which do you think will get you into more trouble? Today I want to talk about the function of your eyes, and not the basic one, which is just to see things, but actually what we are signaling when we look at things, how other people perceive it, and how looks can really kill. I will explain why looking at certain things can drastically change how people see you, and at the end I will give you a tip. It will enable you to use your eyes masterfully, like a knight wields his sword. Since you clicked on this video, we both know that you like the content of this channel and you would like to see more. So why don't we just skip this whole introduction phase and you just go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't have to miss out any of the content that will come out in the future, and I will feel more motivated to keep on making good stuff. So to start off, I want to refer back to the framework of the tree. I introduced this framework a couple of videos ago, and I think it's wise and useful to refer back to that picture. So there are different steps in this framework. At the very bottom, of course, we have the core principles, then we have the mission, the roles, decisions, and actions. And every topic has his part to play in the greater scheme of things. But I want to give the right background. So this topic that we want to discuss today is more into the action part of things, which means that it doesn't help you to decide what is most important in your life or where you want to go or what kind of role you should play, but it gives you just some knowledge about specific actions you can take, so how to look at things specifically, and that will be a tool that you can use to get towards your goal in the end. So this is how you should see the topic of today. So what does looking at something actually mean? If you look at something, and we can go all the way back to all the biological explanations that are already available nowadays. There are a lot of people who did research to that, but we also intuitively know that if you look at something, it means that you are interested in that thing. You can only look at one thing at the same time, and if you spend your attention to something, that means that that thing is of interest to you. So that is part one. And from that flows, obviously, that people can see your eyes. There are a lot of sayings around the world that, for instance, one that I know of at least is, I will trust you on your blue eyes. So people who have blue eyes or maybe even green eyes, there you can very clearly see the pupil. So you can very clearly see where that person is specifically looking at. Whereas people with brown eyes, darker eyes, you cannot not so clearly see what they're looking at. Therefore, you cannot really infer their intentions, which can make it harder for someone to gauge if the person is genuine or honest. So that is kind of where that comes from. But it is basically inferred that if you look at something, that other people can see what you're looking at, and therefore your intention is made public. So other people can see what you are interested in. Now, in the worst case, that could mean, I want to have that, or I want to take action on that thing. And in specific contexts, that could mean different things. But you can think about, for instance, a person is interested in looking for a partner, let's say. So a very typical example, a man is on the street and he sees a woman that he finds interesting, attractive. Then he will look at her, and depending on how openly he looks at her, it might be very obvious that he's interested or likes the way she looks. So that is a very clear example of how you basically transmit outwards your intentions or your interest. And if you look openly, so you're not secretly like looking from the corner of your eye, but if you openly look at someone and maybe even turn your whole body towards where that person is going, you portray basically someone who is very confident in his position, in his stance, and can make his desire or interest very clear. So he's not afraid to be challenged by that, by anyone. And he's also basically saying to the world that, hey, this is of interest to me and I might act on it. Which is also, of course, why a lot of guys get into conflict, especially when they're still younger, for nothing more than what comes down to, hey, what are you looking at? So the situation where you might look into the eyes of the wrong person and that person feels offended because it seems like you are challenging his status and that you might want to take him down, let's say. And that's where a lot of conflicts can arise, especially when you're younger, and this kind of fighting for status is still a very prominent thing in your biology. But that is also the reason why for women, it can feel super, super uncomfortable when they're being looked at by a man, especially if it's very openly, because they can get that feeling, which is grounded in some biological truth, that that person is interested in them, potentially as a partner, and that he is ready and willing to act on that, whatever that may mean. Of course, that can mean a billion things. I don't want to say that anyone who looks at anyone is interested in that person to have it or to act on it. But why people have such a strong response to this is because the worst case is the thing that we should, let's say, train our model on. So because the worst case scenario is the one that's going to cost you the most. So it's better to kind of overestimate the times that someone is trying to do you harm than to underestimate it. Because if you underestimate it, you might get killed, right? Or something else. But if you overestimate it, basically nothing happens. You only feel unsafe and you start walking a bit faster. So that's why that is like a very prominent feeling that people have. It's also a big point of discussion. I think it's important though to note here that many times, let's say 99 out of 100 times, a person is just randomly looking around and has no bad intentions at all. I'm just trying to make it clear what looking at things does to the other person. So basically, that you see someone looking at something gives you a specific feeling, and it also transmits a certain emotion and status. The point that I hopefully don't have to make any more clear right now is that if you are someone who wants to show that he is confident, then you should not look down to the floor, but you should look up. You should look at the faces of people passing you by, and you should try to get, coming back to the question that I tried to ask at the beginning, is if you look around, you actually see more, you get more information, which is good for you. Of course, the downside of all of this is people might get offended or feel a little bit unsafe if you just start staring into people's faces or staring at people. But there's one very simple trick that you can implement that will immediately remove all the negative tension, and that is just simply smile. If you look into people's eyes and you give them a little bit of a smile, chances are they'll probably smile back. They will feel more comfortable. They see that, okay, this is a person that looks at me, so there's this attention that's going towards me, but he's smiling, which probably means he doesn't want to kill me. And that's basically it, guys. So I would say be aware of this mechanism that where you look at is actually telling all the people around you specific things about you. And that is, if you are able and willing to defend what you really want. And if you want to use that, just smile a little bit and everything is going to be all right. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you do, and don't forget to have a nice day.